Are you a business owner or a senior IT executive at a company that intends to introduce web and mobile applications? You may be unsure about the technologies to use while creating your planned web applications, APIs and mobile applications. You may have heard of the debate between Mean and Mern stacks in the context. What are Mean versus Mern stacks and why are they important? What are the respective advantages, disparities and resemblances? These are probably issues that you are struggling with. Which stack, Mean or Mern, should you choose? Which one does better for you? Hello everyone and welcome to this video by Intellipaat. In this video, we provide the answers to these queries along with going over a few fundamentals. Now, let's take a look at this agenda. On number 1, we have what is a technology stack. Second agenda is what is Mean Stack. Third is overview of MERN Stack. Fourth would be similarities between the two. Next up, we would have differences between Mean Stack and MERN Stack. Next, how would you choose between the two? Lastly, conclusion. Before we start with this video, please make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for regular updates from us.
Now let's get started with the first agenda, that is, what is a technology stack? In the field of contemporary software development, the term technology stack is very commonly used. A technology stack is a collection of programming languages, technologies, and software items. Now, why is a technology stack important to you as a business owner or senior IT executive? JavaScript, HTML, and CSS were once used in web and mobile application development, but this has evolved substantially in recent years. Most developers currently employ a select few databases, programming frameworks, and runtime environments when creating online and mobile applications. You will probably experience various advantages, including the simplicity of development, outstanding performance, etc., if you choose to employ a well-known technology stack in your application development project. Let's move on to our next agenda, that is, what is Mean Stack? Mean Stack is one of the most popular technology stack, which is a full stack in nature. The letters of the acronym MEAN stand for MongoDB, Express.js, Angular, and Node.js in that particular order. Using this stack, programmers can create web applications. They also utilize it to create mobile apps, but we're discussing hybrid apps here rather than native ones. The open source Mean Stack is JavaScript based. Mean Stack assists developers in producing web and mobile applications fast since it provides helpful tools and plugins. Let's take a look at an overview of MERN Stack. Now, another open source technology stack that fits into the full stack category is MERN. MERN stands for MongoDB, Express.js, React, and Node.js, and it may be used to build both web and hybrid mobile apps. MERN is a set of JavaScript-based runtime framework and database environments similar to Mean. Developers have access to an entire framework thanks to the MERN stack, whose popularity is soaring. Let's take a look at the similarities between the two. Now, you've probably noticed by now that the Mean and MERN stack share some characteristics, and you're right. In Mean and MERN stacks, the following components are typical building blocks. Firstly, we have MongoDB. This document database is quite well liked. MongoDB, an open source database, allows backend applications to store data as JSON. Next, we have Express.js. This is a well-known open source backend web application framework built on Node.js that goes by the name Express. It can be used by programmers to control HTTP requests, provide simple routing, and develop APIs. Next, we have Node.js. Now, Node.js is a well-liked JavaScript-based open source runtime environment. It assists in asynchronous event-driven programming, which facilitates the development of online applications that are scalable. Node.js is supported by a thriving developer community, so you have access to a wide range of practical open source tools and frameworks. Since many developers are familiar with JavaScript, working with Node.js is simple for them. Given that these elements work in concert to significantly increasing productivity, Node.js is frequently used by developers to build web applications. Now there are other similarities as well. Let's take a look at them. Both of these frameworks are open source and span the complete development lifecycle from front end to back end. The Model View Controller, that is MVC architecture, can be supported by both Mean and Mern. With the aid of the best possible code, both of these stacks assist you in organizing the UI layer components. In both scenarios, developers have access to a pre-built set of testing tools. Now, do you wish to deploy a technological stack that can guard you against typical cybersecurity risks? Mean and Mern stacks, both of them do that. Mern employs React while Mean uses Angular. Both Mean and Mern are backed by the community and both provide useful documentation. You may have access to tutorials and illustrative course samples. Now let's talk differences. We'll differentiate the two based on some criteria. Firstly, we have popularity. You would want to use a widely used technology stack, right? If you select a well-known stack, since more developers are likely to be familiar with it, your chances of hiring qualified developers will increase. The popularity of Mean and Mern stacks is driven by the success of Angular and React respectively. React has recently overtaken Angular, a framework that has enjoyed considerable popularity for a while. Consider the 2019 HackerRank Developer Skills report as an example. According to this data, Angular was the most well-known web framework that programmers were familiar with in 2018, according to a poll of 30% of developers. React is ranked second since 26% of the programmers who were questioned said they knew it. Now 2019 saw a change in this. The React framework is the most popular according to the same study, which indicated that 30% of engineers intended to learn it in 2019. React is becoming more popular than Angular, as evidenced by the fact that comparable number for Angular fell to 20%. Now be aware that both Angular and React are very popular. React developers will become more accessible than Angular developers as time goes on. Next up, we have performance. The true document object model, which updated by Angular, is used by the Mean Stack. The programming interface for documents in HTML and XML is called DOM. Mern, in contrast, employs React, which modifies the virtual DOM. You can code apps more quickly using Mern. Next, we'll talk better quality code. React, which is based on JavaScript, is used by Mern. Angular, on the other hand, makes advantage of TypeScript. A typed superset of JavaScript is TypeScript. It is a statistically compiled language with classes, interfaces, and static typing. Your chances of developing bug-free code increases since it makes it easier to recognize frequent problems. Next, we'll talk learning curve. Express.js, Node.js, and MongoDB are already quite well known, and they all offer top-notch documentation. Regarding this, you won't notice a significant difference in the learning curve. Learning curve for Angular and React will differ. TypeScript and templates are used by the comprehensive framework known as Angular. With Angular, the learning curve is undoubtedly steeper, but React is a library with a rather flat learning curve. Then there's a documentation level of quality. React is simpler to understand than Angular because it has more documentation. Next, we'll see productivity. Given that both Mean and Mern use MongoDB, Express.js, and Node.js, the productivity differences between the two would result from the variations between Angular and React. Better productivity is provided by Angular because it is a comprehensive framework. Now, React often requires the use of additional third-party libraries, which result in a comparatively reduced developer productivity. It should be noted that Angular includes a CLI, which boosts developers' productivity even further. The Angular CLI will make it simpler for you to upgrade your code. Because there are third-party libraries involved, updating your React code requires additional work. Next, we'll see managing your code and upgrading it. Would you want your code to be simple to manage and update? Wouldn't you? By utilizing Angular, the Mean Stack facilitates managing and updating your code. Due to its comprehensiveness and organization, Angular can support the MVC design more effectively. A middle layer makes it simple to separate the code that deals with databases from the code that deals with user interfaces, which makes it simpler to manage and upgrade your code. Seventh on the list, we have flexibility. Since React is a library, you have the ability to decide whatever other tools and libraries you would use with it. Angular, on the other hand, doesn't support this flexibility and has its own components. Keep in mind that there is another side to this. If this flexibility is not important to you, Angular is a better option. This is due to the fact that using third-party libraries in conjunction with React would need extra configuration work. Now let's talk mobile app development. You may design hybrid mobile apps using the Ionic framework, which is provided by Angular. Because hybrid mobile apps use a single code base for both the Android and iOS platforms, they are less expensive to produce. Hybrid apps, however, lack the native user experience. However, React Native is really different in this sense. The MERN Stack is perhaps a superior option for developing mobile apps because it provides a nearly native user experience. Up next, we'll talk data flow. In the case of Angular, the data flow is bidirectional. If the user interface changes, the model state also updates automatically. The data flow in React is unidirectional. Therefore, you will notice that this is very different. If you use React, you can only alter the user interface after changing the state of the model. React's unidirectional data binding gives you a greater data overview, making it easier for you to handle complicated projects. The MERN Stack is now better suited for overseeing bigger projects as a result. On the other hand, the bidirectional data binding provided by Angular proves to be a more efficient method if you are working on a tiny project. Utilizing the Mean Stack here will benefit you. Lastly, we'll talk testing. When testing an Angular written software versus a React written app, testers' experiences differ dramatically. This will inevitably affect your decision between the Mean and the MERN stacks. With just one tool such as Jasmine, you can test an Angular application. That is not the case when developing a React project because you will need to use a variety of technologies. When testing JavaScript code, you must use a tool like Jest. However, when testing components, you may need to use a tool like Enzyme. When developing an app with React, you will probably require a number of third-party libraries, which means that testing will take more time. Now, how do you choose between the two? How would you pick between the Mean and MERN stacks now that you are aware of their similarities and differences? What factors guide your decision? Let's take a look. Firstly, we have your project size. React's unidirectional data binding feature will make it easier for you to complete a huge project. For such tasks, you ought to use the MERN stack. On the other hand, Angular's bidirectional data binding makes it better suited for smaller applications. Therefore, you ought to employ the Mean stack. Next, we'll talk your team's level of experience. If your staff or team members is very knowledgeable about web frameworks and has a lot of expertise, you won't care about the quality of the supporting documentation. In this case, the learning curve won't be as important to you. In these situations, use the Mean stack. The MERN stack is better for you if your team is just moderately experienced because you will have to deal with the learning curve. Next, focus on the productivity. The Mean stack is a better option for you if greater developer efficiency is a top priority for you. Unlike React, Angular is a comprehensive framework that makes updating the code simple. Compared to React, Angular is easier to test. Now, are you working on a project that includes creating a mobile app? Since React enables you to design a nearly native user experience, you ought to use the MERN stack. React performs better than Angular due to the virtual DOM it refreshes. The MERN stack is a better option for you if performance is your main criteria. Preventing defects is a priority. The mean stack is a preferable option if you want to employ a technology stack that, by design, guards against typical coding errors. Because Angular employs TypeScript, the framework avoids typical code mistakes even before they occur. The outlook for your app's long term improvement and upkeep is as follows. Both Angular and React are incredibly popular at the moment. React is becoming more and more well liked. Therefore, hiring React engineers will get simpler in the future. You should think about employing the MERN Stack if your program has a sizable backlog of enhancement work and if you anticipate significant long term maintenance needs. With that, we come to the end. Development of online and mobile applications is now more simpler than it was in the past thanks to modern technological stacks. However, considering the variety of technological stacks available, it could occasionally be challenging for you to select one for your project. Both Mean and Mern stacks share many characteristics, and both also have their advantages. They differ in terms of some deciding factors, such as the MERN stack's superiority for mobile development and the Mean stack's superior productivity. In the end, the entire project requirements will determine the technology stack you choose. And that's it for this video. Thank you.
Just a quick info, guys. Intellipaat provides full stack web development course in collaboration with ENICT IIT Guwahati. The course link of which is given in the description below.